All right, Team Scritch, welcome back to the Scritch is Going Wild channel. Thanks again for tuning in. So I am still at the schoolhouse. It's still August 31st. I'm still getting on the trail today. But I could not pass up the opportunity to interview, because I know everybody, all Team Scritch, all my fans, they love the interviews. Everybody's like, more interviews, more interviews. So I had to take the opportunity to interview my two trail angels right here. So this is Rocket Man, and this is Mr. T. So the question everybody wants to know out of the gate is, how did you get your trail name? So we'll start with you, Rocket Man.
Well, my trail name came about a week into the hiking the AT, and it's basically, I worked in rocket propulsion for 35 years. Oh. So that's where Rockman came from.
Okay. And Mr. T?
Well, I resisted it for about the first week or two. I said, "Did you watch your trail?" I said, "No, man, my name's John." And then two young guys we met declared me Mr. T because I made a cup of tea at the end of each day's hike.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So you guys haven't actually through hiked the AT, is that correct?
No, we did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
When did you guys through hike it?
2017.
Okay. And how'd you guys meet?
We met on a trail.
Yeah.
You know,
Awesome.
we both started independently, and then every night you're more than likely you're going to camp by people, and our speed was about the same. So every night we would see each other, we would talk, have breakfast in the morning, and then he would head out. He's faster than me, and I eventually
I used
caught
to
up
be
to him.
faster than him. I'm not anymore.
That's how we met. We basically almost teamed up after the Smokies.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what would you say is the most challenging aspect of through hiking the Appalachian Trail?
Mental.
Yeah.
You have to be comfortable within your own mind.
So that can come out, a lot of people can think about that in a lot of different ways. So what do you mean by being comfortable in your own mind?
Well, when you're walking for 8 to 10 hours every day, and a lot of times you're hiking by yourself, and it's just how your brain, you can either get depressed or you can, think different positive things. So if you're not comfortable being alone for extended periods of time, day after, well, it's 6 months, basically, except for in the evenings and the mornings, and that's not very much time. You're just by yourself.
You also have to have some optimism because, there are miserable days. There are days that are just miserable.
Well, describe a miserable day for them, because they're hiking virtually with me, and I'm trying to show that.
Well, we had 14 straight days in Virginia where it was either actively raining or we were in the clouds. You were just wet, and we were following spring all the way up. It never got warm. And you just had to convince yourself that, okay, it's a miserable day, but tomorrow's probably going to be a better day. I also learned long ago that, as long as you can be dry and warm at night and have something decent to eat, tomorrow won't be that bad.
So it's funny, you talk about the mental aspect, because when Golden Goddess and I, we scouted like the first 100 miles of the trail. And what I mean by that is we would stop, what's resupply look like? We went to Fontana and a bunch of different places. We went to the Fontana Marina, and we were talking to the guy, and we're like, okay, and we would ask people, what's the number one thing people, that you would tell people to get ready for the trail? And this guy, he's like, get your head on straight.
Yeah.
You got to get your head on straight. That's what he told us. And so that's what he was talking about, exactly what you were saying, get your head on straight. Yeah. So that's great.
Yeah, but
so
unfortunately, you do meet a lot of people on the trail who are trying to get their head back together.
That's absolutely true. And my interview with Blackbeard, who is struggling with PTSD, for sure. A lot of that. All right, so you guys are continuing the section hike. So you did your through hike in 2016. You're continuing the section hike. So I have to ask, you guys have been on the trail a lot. What is the absolute craziest thing you've ever seen on the trail?
I was hiking, and I kept seeing this thing pop out of a guy's backpack. I couldn't figure it out, and I kept getting closer, and some pop up, pop down, pop up. I said, what in the world is this? By the time I caught up to him, he was carrying a cat. And, I've seen people have, dogs would follow him and all that, but I would never see a cat. And I said, well, how much food are you carrying for this cat? And he says, oh, I don't carry food for the cat, because when we get to the shelter, that cat is so hungry, I let him out. He cleans that shelter out of mice. There's
Oh,
no
that's
critters in
awesome.
that shelter. Yeah.
Mr. T?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting stuff. I've enjoyed a lot of it, but I don't think there's. I, well, of course, what he remembers as the most interesting thing was when he didn't get a picture of pulling me out of a bog.
That's so true. Yep.
I went full leg all the way into a bog in Maine and just couldn't get myself out. And he managed to come around and pull me out, and then said, "Dang, I should have taken a picture first." Thanks a lot, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're continuing the section hike and you do your through hike. Do you think the trail has changed, and how has it changed since 2016?
That's a good question.
That's why I asked.
Yeah.
That's why I'm the interviewer, Rocket Man.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to answer because like this time we were on the northern part of the LT with the long trail, and very few people versus on the Appalachian Trail you see a lot more. Not a lot of people, but you see people. So it'd be hard to answer that because most of my hiking's been in places other than the AT
Okay.
for the last 5 years.
Yeah, and the big part of it too is because of all the restrictions over the last couple of years with COVID and isolation, a lot of people are getting out and then they're saying, well, let's go do this. And we're seeing a lot of newbies. And the newbies, unfortunately, did not spend the time to really investigate and learn what it takes to be a long distance hiker. And nothing against young people. I love young people, but they'll get these trail runners and socks and say, okay, let's go. And they might feel pain here in their foot, a pain here in their foot, and they don't take care of it.
Yeah.
So one of the first things that any hiker needs to know is that as soon as you feel something off on your body, stop.
Yep.
Fix it. Because all it's going to do is we saw people with major blisters all over their feet, and and it forces them off the trail.
Yeah.
So it's
A
education.
lot of people try to start too fast. Well, I'm going to go do 20 miles a day. Heck, when I started, it's like, I'm doing 10 miles a day for the first week, and then I'll see what I'm going to do. When we got to where we'd planned 15 a day. But, it's like, first of all, to me, it's not a race. It's not, I don't hike because I got to get somewhere, and I got to get there in a certain time. I hike because I like to hike. And people that start out with, well, I'm going to do 25 miles a day, and a lot of them, we'd see them a month later sitting out for 2 weeks because they had shin splints.
Yep. Golden Goddess and I, we've seen that a lot too. A lot of friends off the trail now because they ended up getting hurt, and we think I don't know if they would admit that, but we think a lot of it was because they were doing this high mileage. And,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
It takes a lot out of you.
So, do y'all have any other words of wisdom for Team Scritch out there that's doing this virtually with me?
I encourage everybody to go for a hike, but I say, look, go for your hike. It doesn't matter what other people are doing. I mean, we met a guy in Maine. He was like 400 pounds trying to hike. He was only doing 2 or 3 miles a day, but the answer is cool. Maybe tomorrow try to do 3 or 4 miles. But, everybody has a pace. Just enjoy your pace and don't worry about what other people think you should be doing.
That's why my Golden Goddess motto is smiles, not miles.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
What about you, Rocket Man? Anything else?
Well, the key is we have to realize the older you get, the harder it gets. It really is.
Yeah, buddy.
That's so true because I'll be 69, Mr. T will be 71, and you're sitting there saying, okay, you can't just sit around all day at home and say, oh, hey, I'm going to go hike 10, 15 miles. It's a constant issue, and it's just stay physically fit because I tell you what, it works out great. It really does.
Yep.
Okay. So I, not just to stay here, just not to get fed and cared for, but the wisdom that these two guys have bestowed upon me the last 2 days has been phenomenal. Just talking to me about what I'm going to expect, getting up into the White Mountains, getting up into Maine, and things to look for, things to do, places to go, has been great. And so I can't thank you guys enough. For absolutely everything the last 2 days. You guys been phenomenal. Taking some crazy looking homeless guy in.
We all look like that in the past. You should have seen him by the end of the trail. God, his mother cried when he went home.
Yeah.
So, all right, team. Once again, you guys know the deal. Stay positive, say your prayers, do something good for somebody. Have a glass of wine for me tonight. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks again to my trail angels, lifelong friends now. Definitely on the Christmas card list. That's for sure. And I'm sure I'll see you guys again. And until next time, Sky King out.